Welcome to another episode of the Bright Light Show. I hope you've all had a really good week and a really good half term, and I hope you're feeling a little bit more rested than you were this time last week. And most of all, I really hope that you and your families are all safe. Before we get into this week's Bright Light Show, I just want to let you know, we really want to know what you think about the Bright Light Show. So if you've got any feedback, if you've got any ideas or suggestions of things that we could be doing, or if you think you've got some ideas of how we could do what we're doing better, or if you think there's some stuff that we do that you just don't want to see anymore, we want to hear from you. So email this address now, stuart@www.sbc.org.uk. We want to know your feedback, we want to know what you think about the Bright Light Show. Right, we are going to crack on and we're going to have our song, Hit It. So we're going to be continuing this week with our series on the people that Jesus met. And this week, Jesus meets someone called Bart. Not that one, a different one. Let's find out what happens. Roll the cameras.
One day,
Jesus and his disciples were walking through Jericho. At the side of the road was a blind man named Bartimaeus. Bart had heard that Jesus was in town, and when he heard that Jesus was close by, he started to shout out, "Jesus, Jesus, Son of David, Jesus!" But the crowd were not happy. They told him to be quiet, shut up. But Bart yelled louder, "Jesus, Jesus, Son of David!" Jesus heard and spoke to Bart. He asked Bart what he wanted, and Bart said, "I want to see." Jesus said, "Your faith has saved you," and he healed him right there. Bartimaeus got his sight back. He was healed, and he started to follow Jesus. Okay, so that was the story of Jesus meeting Bart, or to give him his proper name, Bartimaeus. And you can read all about that in Matthew and in Mark and in Luke. So let's ask the question, which we always start with, why do Matthew, Mark and Luke include this story? Well, I think just like when Jesus met the man with the withered hand and when Jesus met the man with leprosy, Jesus heals Bart twice. He heals him physically by giving him his sight back, and he heals him socially just by the fact that he goes and talks to the man and spends times with Bart. Because remember, people thought that when someone had a disability, like they couldn't see, or if they had a skin condition, that God was punishing them, that they or their parents, or maybe even their parents' parents, must have done something wrong, and now this is what would happen as a result of that. And Jesus, just by going to talk to the man, to Bart, just by spending time with him, and then by healing him, was kind of showing the disciples and everybody else looking, nah, you don't understand, that's not what God is like. That's not what God does. God is different to that. But this is a story that's all about sight. So just for a moment, we're going to shut our eyes. This story is about two different types of seeing. The most obvious type of seeing is that Bart could see again. I can't imagine what it's like not to be able to see anything and then to be able to see. Imagine what it would have been like, all those colours, all the different shapes and sizes. I think sometimes we can take sight for granted. So next time you go outdoors, make sure you look around at all the colours. Really take it all in, because it's pretty incredible. But the second sort of seeing is that as Jesus was walking around and talking to people and teaching people, he was showing people that there was another way to live. There was another way of doing life. That things didn't have to be the way they were. And he was trying to get people to see that. And Jesus called this thing that he was trying to describe the kingdom of God. This is what God's kingdom would look like. If you live the way that I'm trying to teach you, that I'm trying to show you, if we try and treat other people the way that we would like to be treated, if we can show compassion to people, even the people which we don't really get on with, if we can try to forgive, if we can even try to love our enemies, this is what it can be like. And it's like Jesus is saying to people, can you see that? Can you see what I'm saying? It's like Jesus is trying to paint a picture. He's trying to paint a picture of what God's kingdom is like, and he's asking people, will you follow me? Will you join me? Will you try and live this way? Will you try and live the Jesus way? Well, here's the second sort of seeing, because once blind Bartimaeus opens his eyes and isn't blind anymore, Mark tells us 6 words, and these are the 6 words. He followed Jesus on the way. Now that's really important, because he followed Jesus on the way is a short way of saying, and he followed Jesus on the way of the kingdom of God, of trying to live the Jesus way, of trying to live in a way that will bring about God's kingdom. It's a bit like my name. My name is Stuart, but people shorten it to Stu. So it's like Mark has written, and he followed him on the way. That doesn't just mean on the way down the high street or on the way to the shops, or even, and he followed him for the next year. It means he followed Jesus in trying to live the way that Jesus was demonstrating. So Bartimaeus was blind, he couldn't see, and Jesus healed him so he could see. Brilliant. And he could have walked off and gone back to his family or his friends, I don't know, maybe got a job. But as well as being able to see physically with his eyes, Bartimaeus saw what Jesus was trying to demonstrate. He saw, or maybe he only glimpsed at what Jesus was talking about, at what God's kingdom is like, about how we could live now, how we can live now. And so Mark is saying, and Bart tried to live that way. Bart saw. He saw what Jesus was getting at. And it's really interesting because some of the disciples, they don't get it. And they have conversations with Jesus like, well, you're not going to go and talk to that person. But Bart, he gets it, or rather, he sees it. And then he decides to follow Jesus. Okay, open your eyes now. So here's a question. If you see it, or if you think you begin to get it, can you start to live it out? That doesn't mean you have to go out and change the world on your own, but it means you'll start making different decisions and trying to live the Jesus way. Like being thoughtful and compassionate to people. Like trying to be friendly to people. Even the people that annoy you. Maybe even the people that are unkind to you. It doesn't mean you need to be their best friend, but it means you try to be kind. You try to be polite. Maybe it means trying to be generous. Maybe it means sharing what you have. All of these little things are part of what it could look like to live the Jesus way. Right, we're going to do a craft now that's going to help us to think a little bit more about this story.
Craft time.
Morning, Bright Lights. Stu's been telling us about Bartimaeus, the man who was blind, and Jesus healed him. Now, I can't imagine what it must be like not to be able to see. And that got me thinking about maybe doing a craft that would help us a little bit feel like what Bartimaeus must have felt like not to be able to see. So we're going to make some glasses this morning, which are going to go over our eyes, which means we can't see. And then how amazing it must have felt for him when Jesus healed him and he could see everything. So we're going to do this morning. And what you're going to need is a piece of card, any card. If you haven't got any card like this, you could use a box or a cereal box. And you're going to need a ruler and a pencil and some scissors. So first of all, we're going to draw a line with our ruler across about 2 centimetres, maybe a little bit more. And then you need to find something that's round. I've got a plastic cup here, but anything that's circle shaped will do, a lid, anything you can find around the house. And you need to put your circle across the line so it's about 3/4 of the way up, and you need to draw around like this. Okay, and then put it that way, line it up, and then draw around that one. And that gives you glasses shape. I've done that one a little bit off. You need to be more, because I was doing it backwards, you need to be a bit more careful on that. And then you need to cut that out so you get a shape like this, okay? And then where the line is, you need to fold that up so that you can flip your glasses up for when Jesus healed Bartimaeus and you can see. The next thing you need to do is make a hole on each end here. Now you can do that with a hole punch, or you can do it with a pencil through the card if you're very careful. Then what you need to do is get a piece of string or elastic or even a strip of paper and get someone to measure around your head so that the glasses will fit. And then you put the string through and tie the ends like this. And this end. So that the glasses fit around your head. And then you can turn it up and you can write. Now this one, I've put Jesus heals the blind man, and I've put where it comes from, which is Mark 10:46-52. But maybe you know someone who's sick and that you know someone who you'd like Jesus to heal. So maybe you could write their name here. I'm going to write John here, and then maybe you could write Jesus heals to remind us that Jesus heals. And maybe you could pray for that person. And if you like, you could decorate your glasses even more. Look, I put some eyelashes on this one. And then maybe when you're praying for that person, you can put them on your face to remind you that Jesus heals and is pretty amazing. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Time for our weekly quiz now. Here we go.
A quiz with Paul.
Hello, welcome. Nice to see you again this week. 5 more questions, 5 seconds each. First question. What are the names of the Gospel books in the New Testament? Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Second question. Jesus healed 10 men. What was wrong with them? They were suffering from leprosy. What was the name of the angel that appeared to Mary? The name of the angel. It was Gabriel. Number 4. Who lived on locusts and honey? John the Baptist, when he was living in the wilderness. John the Baptist. And the last question. Who was the blind man healed by Jesus? What was his name? It was Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus. That's the 5 questions for this week. Hope you enjoy doing them. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Takeaway. Number 1. Bart was blind. Many people would have seen that as a judgment from God. Jesus didn't, and he showed that by what he said and did. Number 2. This story is about 2 types of seeing. Actually seeing and seeing the way that Jesus asks us to live. Bart saw both and followed. Number 3. So, like the story of Barabbas last week, this story is also a question. And this is the question. Do you see the Jesus way of living? And if you do, will you try it? And there it is. There's our takeaway for this week. So there you go. That is the story of Jesus meeting Bartimaeus, the man who was healed twice and the man who saw twice. He saw physically, because he could see for the first time, amazing, and he saw what Jesus was talking about and about what it can mean to live the Jesus way, about what God's kingdom is all about. Amazing. Don't forget, we want to hear your feedback. We really want to know what you think about the Bright Light Show, and we want to know if there's anything that we can do to make it better for you guys. So email right here. Have a lovely week, stay safe, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week for another episode of the Bright Light Show. Boom!